Welcome to episode 39 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football, shoot the breeze, and make even the replacement refs cringe. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co-host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
Dak Prescott is on pace for 800 passing attempts and 6,700 passing yards.
But is he going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater? So we're live right here on YouTube every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. If you like what you hear and want to support us, don't hesitate to like, share, and if you're feeling extra generous, subscribe. You can like, share, and subscribe even if you think you could run this show better than us. This week
Whoever
we've
thinks
got
that is wrong.
Just say everything is wrong and you'll run the show better than us. This week we've got games to talk about, overreactions to make, commentators to make fun of, and of course, wild predictions. So let's go ahead and dive right into our first segment of the night, which is our games of the week. Our game of the week, which I hope you watched with us, is Vikings at Texans, a 31-23 victory by the winless Vikings, who left the Texans now as one of the few remaining winless teams.
And their coach is gone now.
And yeah, that's the big narrative coming out of this game is Bill O'Brien, who was the head coach and GM of the Texans, has been fired. Do you know who did they name a replacement, like an interim replacement yet?
I haven't seen. I'm on the NFL homepage. Do I see anything? Nothing so far.
Okay. I was just curious. I didn't see anything there. I'm assuming probably not, but well, I guess we'll see how that plays out and how that affects their performance in their upcoming game against the Jaguars this weekend. But as for the game this week, there was not this game wasn't the most exciting game of the week we've had, but it also wasn't the least exciting. There were some exciting plays. I gotta say that Alexander Madison guy, the backup, or not backup, but the kind of the secondary running back for the Vikings. Gosh, he has like the same build as Dalvin Cook, and there were several times where I thought it was Cook. I didn't know that Cook's number wasn't 25, and so I saw this guy running. He's like, "Oh, Dalvin Cook's that was a good run." Like, "Oh, he just got a touchdown." I was like, "Oh wait, no, that's not him. That's Madison." So they have this guy that's basically like a clone, slightly worse Dalvin Cook on their team. So they've got a pretty dangerous running back tandem going on. But Dalvin Cook's fun to watch. He had a great performance in that game.
Dude, he is so good. And also, he's not the biggest guy, but he's hard to bring down. There were several plays where he would just eke out those extra few yards because of how he would go to the ground and evade tackles.
Yeah,
He's not Alvin Kamara in terms of the cutting and the agility, and he's not Saquon Barkley, but he's a special guy. He's a really good back. So
yeah. So what did you see in this game, Joseph?
well, first, how about another? What is this? The third week in a row where we comment on Deshaun Watson having a survival of the pocket.
Yeah.
Um, Surviving a rush and somehow escaping, and then it usually ended up in him just get throwing it away, so it's not a sack. You know, like to the Texans again. Like I know they got rid of Hopkins, big mistake, and tried to add to their offensive line. Hasn't really worked though. But he's gonna get injured doing that, right? He's gonna hyperextend a leg because you see these plays and he's like being brought down. His jersey's being grabbed. He's being like bent in awkward positions, and he's somehow escaping. He's going to have like lower back problems when he's older because of that, or he's going to hurt himself, going to pull a leg muscle. There's no way that's sustainable. And he can't be scrambling around the whole time. So again, Watson with surviving in the pocket. What else? You know what? If you're receiving a punt and there's a defender closing in on you, there's nothing wrong with taking a fair catch. And that's what the Texans should have done. But instead, I think it was in the second quarter, beginning of second, end of first, Texans should have taken a fair catch because there was a Viking right there. He didn't. He caught it. He took a few steps forward. And a Viking came flying in. And I don't know if it was his helmet or his shoulder or what, but just violently knocked the ball out. and the Vikings picked it up and then eventually scored on it. So uh, there's nothing wrong with taking a fair catch. I'll stop there until you let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the big plays in my mind in this game were there was a really epic uh Dalvin Cook rushing touchdown. It was his second rushing touchdown of the game. I think it was in the first half, the second quarter. He had 3 broken tackles and a stiff arm. Got on the sideline into the end zone. That put the Vikings up 17-3. At that point, it sort of felt like the Vikings were in control. That the Texans didn't have an answer for the Vikings run game, and the Texans offense was kind of sputtering. Even though Watson was sort of valiantly trying to make plays, for the most part, he just couldn't really hook up with his receivers in the first half. And of course, as we all know, the big narrative from last year and this year is that their O line is just putrid. Um, so there was a play in, I think this was also in the second half. Harrison Smith, the corner for it's either a corner or a safety, I can't remember, for the Vikings, got disqualified for initiating contact with the helmet against a defenseless receiver. And I've made this point in past weeks, but the NFL seems to be cracking down on the leading with helmet, making helmet to helmet contact as actual disqualifications. Like they've been in the past, there'll be, of course, the 15-yard penalty, but usually I've seen in past years a lot of the time the player will, unless it was overtly malicious, the player will just get like a strike or whatever, and then if they get 2 strikes, they get ejected. And now they just seem to be going straight for the ejections. I think this was the 3rd time I've seen this specific type of disqualification happen. So it's interesting that they're doing that. And I didn't actually see a replay. Unfortunately, the condensed version didn't show a replay of this, but to see whether it was actually, really intentional or not. But it always kind of amazes me. I feel like, generally speaking, corners have the ability to control whether they're going to crash into your head with their head or not. I mean, wouldn't you agree? That seems that we're not talking about quarterbacks sliding and then having to make a sudden change of momentum to not touch them. We're talking about a full speed tackle into someone else leading with your helmet.
Yeah, without a bang bang part, then yeah, and I don't think Harrison Smith that was not a bang bang play.
Right.
So
and then I just thought this sort of epitomized the awfulness of the Texans offense so far this season, and just how their season's going in general. Right after the disqualification, you get the 15 yards, you're getting close to the red zone, or maybe even in the red zone at that point, and Watson holds onto the ball and gets sacked. Then he misses 2 throws, and they're forced to kick a field goal. Just absolute brick wall that they hit. And they didn't even start to come alive a little bit until the second half. Watson made some nice throws. I think it was Will Fuller caught a couple of really nice passes in the second half. But I don't know. I don't really. Do you think there's anything to it other than just the O-line is really bad? Do you think there's something wrong with the way they're scheming, the way they're using Watson? Is it just a lack of talent on the receiver side?
Man, well, I'll just go ahead and use the stat that they mentioned in the 3rd or 4th quarter, which said that they're the only team in the NFL that has not had a takeaway. Now, granted, part of that probably has to do with the fact they've played against 4 top 10 quarterbacks. Cousins is probably top 12, top 10. And 3 of the top 7 teams in the NFL. But still, no takeaways at all. No interceptions, no fumbles, no forced fumbles, recoveries. It's kind of bad. So it's weird. It's like they have playmakers, and you see them show like Will Fuller, Watson will show up, but it's just each week is just it's not enough. I think this was a must win for them. While their schedule is going to get obviously easier, after you play the Ravens, Chiefs, and Steelers already, but I don't know. I think I don't think it can be blamed on one thing, um, but a lot of things. But they still have. I mean, they still have Packers and Patriots left to play, plus some division games. So I think their season's already shot. Um, while the AFC South is looking pretty weak this year, the winners probably still going to have 8 or 9 wins. I'm sorry, the Titans are better. They're still going to have 9 or so wins. Texans are not going to get 9 wins, so their season's pretty much shot. And I think when I saw that Bill O'Brien was fired, they have won 4 division titles in the last 5 years. I think.
I think so.
I think that's what I read. So they're just not able to take that next step. They traded away a franchise receiver, one of the greatest receivers in this generation, and it's not working out for what they got back.
For
David
a
Johnson,
tackle.
yeah. um, I don't know how David Johnson has been this year.
I think he's been
But
okay. I mean, it
look,
really, the stat you pointed out about the turnovers, sure, like that's probably a factor. It would be a factor, but watching them, we've now had 2 game of the weeks with the Texans. I've seen some other highlights and stuff of their other couple of games. I just don't think the onus is on the defense, really. I feel like the offense is just really not in rhythm.
yeah, there's chemistry issues. There's some
Yeah.
chemistry.
And Watson just has no protection. I mean, he's not able to get anything off on a regular basis. So I think
And
that's the biggest issue. And I think the firing, I guess we'll just move on. Did you have any other plays you wanted to talk about?
nah, let's move on.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of talk about the O'Brien situation for a second before we go on to our second game, which is the I think as a head coach, I'm not sure he deserved to be fired. But as a GM, he absolutely did. The decision to let go of Hopkins was probably one of the worst moves that a team has made in several years. You don't get rid of a franchise, top 3 in the league receiver with a young up and coming quarterback on a team that's been in the playoffs and trade that away for a tackle plus
And to
a
have him
couple
paired
other
up,
small minor things.
yeah, and the fact that not just Hopkins, but it's the duo, it's the chemistry that Hopkins is in a wide receiver core with Stills and Fuller's also good, and so like it's not just losing Hopkins, but the aspect of them working together, and they were a top wide receiver core.
Yeah, but the problem is that Stills and Fuller are not number ones, right? They're more number
Yeah,
twos. So when you're relying
Fuller
on
is
a couple of
like
number
1.5,
twos,
but yeah, but Stills isn't. Yeah,
yeah, it's not going to work out quite the way you think. So if I had to guess, I would say that the ownership probably told O'Brien, but what he probably pushed for that trade, right? Which is what any GM that takes ownership would do, is I want to get rid of Hopkins and protect Watson. The ownership probably told him, look, if this doesn't work out, you're done. Like, I would not be surprised, because you have to be stupid to not see how risky it is to get rid of a receiver like that. So I don't know. It's just who knows what's going to happen. Like we said, we don't know who the interim is, how the Texans are going to bounce back from this. They're going to win some games this year because, yes, they have some easier opponents after a rough start to the season. But yeah, this was a must win for them, and they really blew it. So, okay. So moving on to our second game, the Tom Brady show. The Bucks beat the Chargers 38-31. Exciting game. This was a really fun game to watch. There were just a crazy number of wide open receivers that got caught touchdowns in this game. I did the math, and the secondaries for both teams But you don't have to do the math to look at them and know that they both played awfully horrible. But statistically, the secondaries gave up 8 passing touchdowns, 600 and 659 yards, passing yards collectively. They did get 2 interceptions, but 8 passing touchdowns. What did you think? What did you think of Herbert in this game? I actually thought he looked pretty good.
That's inexcusable. 8 passing touchdowns? Are you kidding
Yes,
me?
8 passing. There were no rushing touchdowns in this game. Only passing touchdowns.
So Herbert is looking good. I mean, the last couple of games, he's been really improving. And I was thinking while watching the game the other day, there was skepticism about taking him so high. He had a higher draft stock in second to last year than his last year, and he stayed an extra year in college. And there was skepticism, and when he would get taken, I think he was taken 5th or 6th last year or this year. But he's got a good arm. Everyone knew that. Accuracy has really improved. He had that amazing 60-yard throw, and yeah, he's good. I think the Chargers have something, and if they can, they're boasting this run offense, even though they lost Melvin Gordon. If they can keep that up, then if I was a Chargers fan, I would have really worried a few months ago. And like, oh great, here we go. We're gonna start rebuilding mode. We're gonna be a mess. And even though they're not gonna win the division, and they're most likely not gonna make the playoffs, the Chargers they did it faster than the Dolphins did, and the Chargers are at where the Dolphins will probably be in a year or two. And if I was a Chargers fan, I wouldn't be super worried right now. So there's hope, looking good, and add a few more pieces around him.
Yeah, they drafted him 6th overall, right after the Dolphins drafted Tua.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought he looked as good as you can look for a rookie in that kind of situation. He wasn't perfect, but he made a lot of great throws. He made a lot of really great, accurate throws as he was about to get hit. Like, he was constantly under pressure by that really good Bucs D line. So
Yeah,
kudos to him.
He had almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 pick, but he was 80% completion percentage.
Yeah, that's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
And it came down to a final drive. Like, the Chargers had an opportunity to come back and
Uh-huh.
tie it, and then he got picked off.
Yep.
Right, but to stay toe to toe with a Tom Brady that's throwing 5 touchdowns and is playing against a Chargers defense that has 6 players on the field, it is pretty good. So there
Speaking of
was
that touchdown, though, really quick. Speaking of that interception, I've watched that replay several times. I don't know what happened because he either horrendously overthrew the first guy or horrendously underthrew the guy behind him. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if his brain got mixed up because it was like an effortless throw, but threw it in between 2 guys and he undershot one by several yards and overshot the other by several yards. So I don't know what happened there, but that was the end of the game.
Yeah, that was a weird a weird throw. There was an uncalled OPI on Evans. He pushed off and got caught a deep pass that drive ended in a touchdown. And the reason this one stuck with me was just because of the OPI call against Kittle in the Super Bowl earlier this year. It was just I'll never forget that. So yeah, this was I commendable for Herbert. I agree with Joseph. I think the Charger fans should be encouraged. This was always going to be a tough game to win, and they stayed in it till the end. And Brady had some of the easiest touchdowns I've ever seen in that game. Just incredible. And quick news, there was a little snippet of news on ESPN that the Tampa Bay Bucks running back Kenyon Barber is suspended 4 games for a PED violation. And he put up no stats on Sunday. So not a big loss for the Bucks there. All right. Without further ado, we're going to move on to Who Wrecked Face this week, brought to you by some ridiculous and albeit somewhat surprising quarterback performances. So I'll let Joseph lead off with that.
All right, so I'll start with the quarterbacks and end with some rushing. So first we have Tom Brady, 30 of 46 for 369 passing yards. That's a 65% completion percentage, so pretty good. But
Is that the pistachio nuts, man?
or the avocado ice cream.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns and a pick. Now it was a pick six, it was underthrown. He had 5 touchdowns. He led a comeback, and he made some ridiculous throws to Scotty Miller and that one throw at the end to Gronk, which kind of sealed the deal. He made some crazy throws. Next, Aaron Rodgers. Talk about playing with a vengeance this year. He probably heard us trash talking him last year and this year, saying he's going to decline, and everyone else was saying that. But he's in the top 3 for MVP running right now, and he was on fire against the Falcons. 27 of 33 for 327 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. He has not thrown a pick yet this season, so incredible for Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's move on to a different kind. So we have here Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon for the Bengals. He had 6 receptions for 30 yards and a receiving touchdown, but his rushing was better. 25 carries for 151 yards. That's a 6 yards per carry average, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Bengals got their first win. Congratulations to Joe Burrow and them. Okay, here we go. You ready for this?
Oh,
Cleveland.
Well, hold on. You can't forget to mention that he also had 6 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown.
That's what I led off with. I said that.
Oh, okay.
Are you putting me on mute?
No, I'm not. I'm not putting you on mute. I was actually looking. I was looking up Aaron Rodgers' passing stats, which we'll go over in just a second.
Okay. Wait, did you miss me bring up Aaron Rodgers passing as well too?
No, I didn't. I heard that.
Okay.
No, I heard that.
All right. So Cleveland rushing. So let's start off with the fact that they had 3 rushing touchdowns. That's really good for any rushing squad each Sunday. Their average rushing was 7.7 yards. It's also really good. But this is where it's going to get you. That was on 307 rushing yards. 307 rushing yards. 40 for 307. Are you kidding me? Wow. That is wow. And then I'll end here with we have those who wreck face, and then we have those who get wrecked. And the Chicago Bears rushing got wrecked this week. They had no rushing touchdowns, a 1.8 rushing average, 16 for 28 yards, just absolutely pathetic. Their longest rush was 6 yards.
Who's their main running back?
David Montgomery. He was 10 for 27.
Okay, I don't even know that name, so I guess he just got pulled off the street this last week or something.
They did
That's
really
bad.
So.
All right.
Your turn.
So I'm gonna highlight my guy, George Kittle, who.
Ooh, I'm just kidding.
15 receptions on, guess how many targets? 15 for 183 yards and a touchdown. He was unstoppable statistically, and just watching him, that man always finds a way to fall forward for 3 or 4 extra yards whenever he catches a pass. It takes 5 defenders to bring him down. He is a better version of. He's like the tight end of Marshawn Lynch. And then defensively, Roquan Smith for the Bears got 13 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and Jordan Hicks for the Cardinals had 12 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss. That's what we call a tackle machine. And then lastly, Zadarius Smith had 8 tackles and a high 3 sacks against the struggling Falcons O-line. So, which that's a whole nother story. I guess I think we're going to talk about that in this next section, which is our news stories. We're going to talk about overreactions or not overreactions. There's a article in ESPN entitled, where's the title? All right. judging Week 4 NFL overreactions. So it doesn't go over every team. There's like 4 or 5 of these, so we're not going to go through all 32, so don't worry. So the first one is Brady will play more than 2 years for the Bucs. Joseph, is that a reaction or not an overreaction?
Well, I guess I'm a little lost here. What's a reaction?
Did I
get
say
the overreaction. I think you said reaction.
Oh. Well, it could
I mean,
be a reaction. I mean, everything is technically a reaction, right?
well, okay, yeah, that is. We'll use the verdict of what he does. Like his. By the way, this is Dan Graziano for everyone. We have picked on Dan quite a bit the last couple of years. So he will say it's either an overreaction or not an overreaction. So we'll use that metric. So this is, I think, an overreaction. More than 2 years. I mean, he looked good, but like, no, he'll play 2 years. So I don't know.
So he's 43 right now, right?
Yeah.
So he would be 43 through this year, 44 for next year, and then it's saying I think he said, didn't he say he wanted to play until he was 45?
Yeah.
I think he said that. So I don't know. I mean, he's still picking up receivers and running backs in the end zone after he throws a touchdown. So this guy's still got it in him. I think this is still probably a overreaction because, look, we're 4 weeks into the season. Yes, he's had a great start, but I want to see where they are after game 10. And if we see the Brady that we started to see with the Patriots the last couple of years, then he may be done after 2 years. So at most, I would say this is a reaction. But I would lean towards saying it's an overreaction. All right. So our next one is Dak Prescott was right not to sign long-term with the Cowboys. So Joseph, is that an overreaction or not an overreaction?
Well, it's just worded kind of weird. So I'll say, right, he was right not signing a long term. Sorry, I'm totally having a
Yeah, so the question is, are we overreacting to think that Dak Prescott will not be with the Cowboys after this year?
Yes, if that's what he's saying, the way you worded it, which is much better, then yes, that's an overreaction because it's not his fault. Even with CeeDee Lamb improving, like already at this point, they have, I would say, a top 5 receiver core. Top 7, no worse than that. Probably top 5. Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best backs in the league. He's a good receiving back. They still have a good offensive line. He's putting up ridiculous numbers. He's doing what he can. He's not the one giving up 38 points a game or whatever it is, right? That defense is terrible. He wasn't out there when the Browns are racking up 300 rushing yards. So I think that I don't know what's actually has been happening to that defense, but it's an overreaction to think that he should leave or that he wanted to leave or whatever. So yeah, I think it's an overreaction.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, for a team that is in the NFC East, which I'll quote from this article. Dan Graziano says, I don't know how the remaining 3/4 of the season will go for the Cowboys, but I do know that half of Dallas's remaining games are division games, and the NFC looks softer than a cotton candy hot tub. The NFC East, I think, is like 2-10-1 or something, or 2-13-1 or something like that. They're
3-12-1. 3-12-1.
Yeah, just horrendous. So as far as quarterbacks go, they by far have the best one in that division, and they by far have the best running back this year, right? Saquon Barkley tore his ACL, so he's out this year. And, he's got the top two, if you consider him and Elliott. I don't know. And you said, top receiver core, the Giants and the Redskins, the football team, are both in clear rebuilding mode. So I just think you look at it from the perspective of, look, he wants to stay in a division where he knows they're going to win the division each year. They've got the best offense by far in the division. They have time to rebuild their defense. Maybe they're not going to win a Super Bowl in the next year or two, but they've got the trajectory, I think, to go far. So if I was Dak Prescott, I don't know where I would go. I would want to stay where I am. So this is definitely an overreaction. Next one. This one's simple. Odell Beckham Jr. is back, baby. I added the baby part.
Well, Graziano says it's not an overreaction. I agree with him, but I don't even know if the question that should be asked, like, when was he ever gone? Like, his last couple of years have been the greatest. They haven't been terrible, and it's not like,
I think last year was kind of down.
I mean, 74 receptions for 1,000 yards, 14. Okay, it was a little down, but I'm just gonna presume that.
Are you just gonna blame it on the? Are you just gonna blame it on the Baker Mayfield commercials?
I'm just gonna presume, unjustifiably, that this is a valid question to begin with, and just say it's not an overreaction. Odell Beckham is still a good wide receiver in the league and has the potential to be, great. So one of the best. I'm just kind of like, this question, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this is really can only be based on last year, which was for someone that is considered to be, a top 5 receiver in the league. To have the year he had last year, and to more so in the context of the Browns having a really disappointing year. Because I think he thought he was getting traded to a team that was going to play a lot better than it did last year. And so I think there was this sort of narrative that, Beckham is sort of not competing well and the Browns aren't going anywhere and maybe he's not a fit and he might be looking to be traded, etc. And that's kind of what's behind this idea that he is back now versus, being gone before. But a lot of that I think is debatable. I think this is, if you accept the premise of the question, then it's not an overreaction. He's absolutely back to form, and it looks like, although Baker Mayfield is still doing commercials, he's at least making fun of himself in the commercials for doing so many commercials. So maybe that's helping. All right. The next one and the final one is that it's time for Washington to bench Dwayne Haskins.
I'm torn on this one. I'm really seeing it from both sides. I mean, if I'm going to have to give both answers here. It's not an overreaction if Alex Smith is ready to go. Okay. It is an overreaction if their backup, isn't Alex Smith. Because, and as I'll just quote Dan here, folks, he is 23. Sunday was his 11th NFL start. Yeah, that's fair. He's not playing great, but he's not absolutely terrible. So give him a few more opportunities. But if Alex Smith is ready to go, I would be curious to have him put in the next week or two.
He does say that he's not clear whether Alex Smith is healthy enough. So yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you on this. I mean, unless he's getting just bowled over by every defensive line, then because that's the most dangerous thing for young quarterbacks, right? Is when they don't have any protection. And I don't know the stats, but if their O-line is holding up okay, I would say just let him keep playing. They're obviously rebuilding. giving him some experience isn't a bad thing. Sure, he doesn't have much of a surrounding cast to throw to, but as long as he's not, Cam Newton at risk of being crushed every week, then I think it's probably fine to keep him out there. So I'd say that's maybe an overreaction, but I would certainly, if Alex Smith is healthy, I think you bring in Alex Smith, especially as a mentor, so that Haskins can kind of step back and get some perspective with what's going on, because he's probably trying to put a little bit too much on his shoulders, my guess is. And I think having a sort of Rodgers behind Favre situation, although admittedly Alex Smith is not Brett Favre, but having some mentorship is not a bad idea. All right, so that's our overreaction story from our beloved ESPN Dan Graziano. We'll have more from him this year, I'm sure. So our next segment is commentators say the darndest things, and Joseph pulled some gold this week, so I'm going to let him take it away.
So first, I'm going to preface. This is from the Giants-Rams game. And I don't know who the announcer is. I don't want to rip on Dan Fouts because I don't know if it was Dan Fouts. I think it was Dan Fouts, but I'm only like 75% sure. So I need to verify before I start making accusations. But whoever it was, there were at least 4 just in the first quarter. And I did not save the best 2 because they're really long. All of these are long, not like comments. They're like paragraphs. Because this guy, I can't explain it. He just said some ridiculous things, and you need the entire paragraph for context. And you're just like, what are you even talking about? And the last one, I'll just say this. I talked about this a couple years ago about ESPN's top 100 players, and what did we hear, right? Aaron Donald is the best player in the NFL. Wrong. And Jeremy and I talked about that. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to tease you guys and hold back, is sometime in the coming weeks, I'm going to suffer for you, and I'm going to listen to this entire game, because I have a feeling I'm going to have like 10 of these comments from him, at least. And I'm going to listen to the entire game and rack them together. And we're probably just going to have a special segment of just going through the absurdity of these things and why they're ridiculous. And it'll lead to other comments. But I'm just going to give 2 for today. They're both in the first quarter. All right. So he's just talking about Jared Goff and how much he really likes him. And he says here, really worked on his footwork, worked on kind of his duress under pocket throws. And he's created more energy in the football through tightening up his stance a little bit and working in those tight situations. Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was just a lot of rambling and just, okay. And then the next one here is
creating energy in the football. That's a new one.
Through tightening up his stance a little bit and working in those tight situations, whatever that even means. And this next one here is, this guy was all over. I wonder if this person was ever a Rams player, because he really loved the Rams. Talking about the Rams team and, Jared Goff, and they run the ball and offensive line. And then he says here, then he gets the wide receivers. And then it's the 2 wide receivers. I mean, he's talking about Kupp and Woods. And then it's the 2 wide receivers. Those guys are football playing Jessies. They are guys that set the tone for this offense, which you normally don't see from that position. Very physical. What? No, they don't set the tone for the offense. And what the heck is a football playing Jesse?
That's great.
So there were 2 more from the first quarter that I wanted to put, but I didn't, because I'll just say here, I was ranting to myself on one of them. I was getting so upset that I was working out the epic rant I was going to have on this show, and I was in my room by myself ranting about this, and I was like, I'm getting upset here. I need to stop. But this is just such an absurd comment. So one of these days, I'll say for you guys like 10 minutes worth of the absurdity from this game, and we'll talk about it.
So first we need to establish who that was, though. So you think it was Dan Fouts?
I'm only like 70% sure. We'll have to look up who.
Make sure you look up who it is, so that each week we can make sure to watch whatever game he's commentating in.
Yeah, you go ahead, and I'll try to look him up right now. Looking or keep.
All right. So our next segment, unfortunately, I'm going to need you for this one. So maybe we hold off to do that offline. Our next
Okay.
segment is our predictions, and we start off with our tricky picks. So last week on tricky picks, I was 1-2, and Joseph was 2-1, giving me an 8-6-2 season record so far. Joseph 9-5-2. So Joseph has one on me, and this week Joseph has some new ones.
All right. So first one, we have Bucks at Bears. All right. And I did a little bit of research for these because I wanted to provide you some more context. I figured it may have seemed like I've had an unfair advantage. I haven't done research on these, but I'm starting to do that so we can have be consistent.
Was there energy in your research from sitting tight in your chair?
Will Gronk have either more than 4 receptions or his first touchdown reception or neither? So the first two is a package. So he can either have more than 4 receptions or his first touchdown or neither. And so far, for context, he's had no touchdown receptions, and his receptions in the past 4 games have been 2, 0, 6, 1.
I'm gonna say either the 4 receptions or the touchdown over the
Nice.
neither.
All right, same here. I think he's gonna get in the end zone this week. All right, Bengals at Ravens. Which will be higher, Joe Burrow's completions or Lamar Jackson's attempts? So far on the season, Joe Burrow has 116 completions and Jackson has 98 attempts. But he's playing a better defense, the Ravens, so averages out.
Who did the Bengals play this last week? It was, I can look it up too real quick. It was
Jaguars.
The Jaguars. Okay. So Joe Mixon ran all over the Jaguars, which is not super impressive. I'm going to say let's see. I'm going to say the Bengals might lean on their run game a little bit more. So I'm going to say that it's Joe Burrow's completions over Lamar Jackson's attempts, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say actually I'm going to say Joe Burrow's completions are higher.
Okay. All right. Same here. All right, next one. Vikings at Seahawks. Which will be more? Dalvin Cook's total yards from scrimmage, right, rushing and receiving, or Russell Wilson's total yards in his worst half? So for some context, Dalvin Cook has been averaging 116 yards per game this year total, but his last 2 games have been much better than his first 2. So there's some higher weight there. Russell Wilson is averaging 172.5 yards per half total, but playing a little bit better defense than the Vikings, and we're looking at his worst half. So who knows which half it is?
I'm gonna say Russell Wilson's worst half is gonna be more than Dalvin Cook's yards from scrimmage.
All right, I'm going with Dalvin Cook here. And last, not least, have our tricky pick special, which I'm not going to do every week, but they've just been rolling, so still going with them. Dolphins at Niners. What other game could it be? All right, here we go, man. What's going to be more? The Niners rushing yards or Kittle's receiving yards? I love doing this. I love this.
Honestly, it depends a lot on who our starting quarterback is.
It's gonna be Mullins or Beathard. They're both pretty bad.
No, not necessarily. There's actually a pretty good chance we'll get Jimmy. We'll find out tomorrow morning.
Okay, that I would change mine if I knew that too. So maybe we should make this a conditional pick.
Yeah, because I think sure. Yeah, so let's do this. If Jimmy starts, I think Kittle will get more yards than the rushing.
Yeah.
If Jimmy doesn't start, then it'll be the opposite. I think the Niners will have more rushing yards than Kittle gets receiving.
All right. Well, then you and I are on the same page. All right. Which will be more, the Dolphins touchdowns or the Niners field goals?
Um, Dolphins touchdowns.
All right. Same. First team force turnover, Niners or Dolphins?
And that's either a forced fumble or an interception.
Yes.
Niners.
Same. Yeah. Fitzpatrick hasn't been very good. All right. You're going to struggle with this one. Total points over under 45.
For our game of the week. This is all
Yeah.
Niners Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Over under 45.
By the way, just for some I looked up. Their combined season average is 50 points, but that obviously includes Jimmy, then includes maybe some fluke stuff, some garbage time. So I think 45 is a really tough one to pick. So that's why I picked 45.
Can we do a conditional on this one as well?
With Jimmy,
Yeah.
I'm fair. Okay, same
Okay.
here.
If we have Jimmy, I'm going to take the over, and if we don't, I'm going to take the under.
Okay, I'm gonna take the over either way.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna write this down. One second. I know this is radio sound, so that's okay. I'll do that later. Okay, which one will be more? So there's gonna be 6 people listed, but 3 Niners versus 3 Dolphins. Okay, which will be more? A, McKinnon rushing plus Samuel and Bourne receiving, or Fitzpatrick rushing versus and Parker's and Williams receiving.
The Dolphins won.
Okay, same. All right, that's it. I'm done.
All right. Those are some good ones. I like those. Okay, so moving on to our predictions tracker. So this last week, I was 11-4, and you might be wondering, hey, wait a minute, Jeremy, that doesn't add up to 16. The reason for that is because the Steelers-Titans game got postponed due to I think it was both teams testing positive for COVID. At least one of them did. So that game got postponed, and Joseph was 9-6. So on the season, I am 44-18-1, which is a just bulky 71%. And Joseph is 38-24-1, falling 10 points behind at 61.3. So
just an atrocious.
Well, just an atrocious 61.3. Still respectable. All right. So last week, he and I differed on 2 games, one of which he knowingly shot himself in the foot with, and that was Seahawks at Dolphins, which, to his credit, was actually a competitive game until the very end.
Yes.
The Seahawks edged it out, but the Dolphins played admirably, and I picked Seahawks on that one. And then I also picked Panthers over Cardinals, and the Panthers did, in fact, defeat the Cardinals. So those are the 2 games I picked up on Joseph last week. Moving on to the games for week 5. We've got 15 games this week with the Lions and Packers on buys. So this is the first week with buys. The first game is Bucks at Bears, and I'm going Bucks.
Same.
All right. Do you want to do the next one?
Oh yeah, sorry. Panthers at Falcons. Falcons.
Same. I think this is going to be their first win of the season. Bills at Titans. This was a tough one, but I'm going Titans.
This one was very tough, but I think Josh Allen, he's on a roll. He's number 2 or number 1 in MVP, my opinion, and I think the Bills will take it.
You can't get an MVP if you're 12. I keep saying that. Okay. You're next.
Raiders at Chiefs. Chiefs.
Same. Cardinals at Jets. Cardinals.
This one was tough. I mean, the Jets are atrocious. They are. They are. But the Cardinals, they're still iffy, and I feel like the Jets are not going to lose all 16 games. They're going to have to win at least a couple. This could be one of them, but I'm going Cardinals.
Okay.
Eagles at Steelers. Steelers.
Yep. Same. Rams at football team. I'm going Rams.
Every time you say that. Same here, Rams.
Well, until they decide to fix their horrendous mistake of being forced to change their name and decide to leave their team unnamed for a year, then I'm going to make fun of them for it. Okay.
It's just every time you say it's funny. Okay.
Sorry,
Bengals,
you picked Rams though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Bengals at Ravens. I've been on the Joe Burrow train 4 weeks in a row, but not this week. So going Ravens.
Smart man. I'm going Ravens as well. Jaguars at Texans. This one was a legitimate. I had to put some thought into this one, but I'm actually picking Texans.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, really quick, because the Colts, not the Colts. The Jaguars are 1-3, and I think the Texans they're gonna muscle this one out. So, all right, next one. Dolphins at Niners.
Drum roll, please.
Y'all know this is game of the week, okay? And y'all know I'm going with the Dolphins. So now, unfortunately, because Jeremy and I remember when we were living together in college, and there was a Dolphins at Niners game, and we couldn't go because we're broke college students and we're busy, so we couldn't make it. And we waited 8 years to hopefully make it. And even if we wanted to, we couldn't because of COVID. So we'll have to wait another 8 years. Maybe we'll see a Dolphins at Niners game together.
Someday.
Yeah. So I'm going Dolphins.
When we're so old that we can't even stand in the seats. Okay, I'm going Niners.
Of course you are.
Yeah. All right. Next one is Colt. Said with such disdain. Colts at Browns. This was a really tough one, but I'm going Browns.
Same here, man. Very tough. Also going Browns. We'll see if Odell is back, baby.
Yeah. This year it's just so much harder making some of these picks because of the home field.
Yeah, because there's no advantage.
Yeah, there's no advantage. So you really have to judge the teams based on their own merits. And that actually, maybe that's actually why I'm doing better so far, than I usually am at this point, because I'm thinking more about the team on team rather than just assuming teams have a home field.
Yeah. Giants at Dallas, the NFC least. Going with the Cowboys though. The Giants are bad. Okay, the Giants are very bad. So if the Cowboys can't beat the Giants, then the division winner might be 4-12.
I'm picking the Cowboys also, and the real question is, do the Giants play the Jets this week or this year? And if they do, is it our game of the week?
Well, that'll be a highlight game for how many turnovers and mishaps there is.
All right. Broncos at Patriots. So real quick on this one, I might do it on the fly on this one. So is Cam also out this week?
So he's unknown. I think you and I are going to do the same thing. I'm picking Broncos conditionally if Newton's not playing.
Same.
So we'll for accountability from the listeners, we're both picking Broncos if Cam Newton's not playing. But if Cam Newton is playing, we're picking Patriots.
Did they say if that's going to be a game time call? Probably not, right? They're probably going to be able to say beforehand.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Probably if he practices on Friday, they'll know. So yeah, anyways, that's a we reserve the right to flip our pick on that one depending on whether Cam quarterbacks.
All right, Vikings at Seahawks. I think this will be a better match than expected, but the Seahawks are still going to win.
Yeah, I'm going Seahawks as well, in memory of the really disappointing Monday night Vikings at Seahawks game last year.
Well, even worse. How about a few years ago when the Vikings kicker
Oh,
missed
they
like a
missed
20
that chip
like
shot.
27-yard field goal for the
Oh my
playoffs?
gosh, don't
For the
remind
yeah,
me.
yeah, that was yeah,
Okay, and then last is Chargers at Saints. I'm going Saints.
same.
Okay,
How many did we differ on?
only one. Bills at Titans.
No. Dolphins Niners.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. I'm sorry.
That's it
I
though?
didn't
Is that it?
highlight that one red yet. Yeah, so two. Bills at Titans, Dolphins at Niners. All
How
right,
many
and
games are you ahead? 8?
um 6.
Okay, that's not too bad.
So
Wait, no, that's wrong. It has to be 7 because I was 5 from the week before. Pretty sure.
mm, I have so much energy in my math, man. I can't be wrong
All
on
right, well, you
this.
know what? I get a free game, and we'll for your
I'll
sake of things.
review it. I'll review it next uh time. But I mean, I can't. But the math adds up to the same number of games, though.
Okay, then all right.
Both totals are 62 games and a tie.
All right. Well, then I'm not sure. We'll figure it out later.
Okay, I can double check before next week's show.
Okay.
All right, well, that's a wrap. If you enjoyed tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. The show is online immediately after we go live, so if you missed any of our foolish banter, you can always rewind and start from the beginning. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.